It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. And not only that, not only do they get not only does Advanced HE receive funding for the race equality and the Feed and Swan charters, but they also, when an investor sees that a university has got the race equality charter, the Feed and Swan charter, they're more likely to give more money. Especially when you've got the Soros-backed organisations, chiming in. It's honestly, it's massive. It's despicable. It's despicable what's going on. Now, I mentioned this as well to you. Is at the University of Edinburgh, right? So there's a big problem in the UK with Chinese funding universities, right? Now, I understand with the Russia stuff, there was an organisation that was funded to kind of make a little bit of propaganda. I'm not going to get into that actually, but So the Chinese are funding a lot of UK universities to a very, very, very large extent. Now, something I mentioned to you was decolonisation. Now, that's a big topic that's plaguing university, the field of university at the moment, yeah? At the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, they're doing this, So there were researchers and academics there who were awarded £800,000 by the UK Research Innovation Council to decolonise a Scottish author, poet and novelist called Robert Louis Stevenson. Now,
his name just come up in one of the videos I was watching, because you brought up some interesting points about it. I'm not going to try and reiterate them because I feel that I'll get them wrong because I've only just watched it. But you brought up some interesting points in one of the daily debrief videos that I watched about this guy.
Yeah. So, So I'm assuming then have you read some of his work before, or?
I haven't, no, personally.
Right, so he's written quite a few famous books, like The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and quite a few other things, yeah? So these are really famous books. He's a very famous author, and he's very renowned in Scotland. He's very much loved, yeah? Now, the left want to claim... Sorry, I know there's a bad light coming on me, but I need to get some better shades for the window.
That's perfectly fine, don't worry.
So there's... He's... I'm just trying to get my point. Oh, yeah. So the left want to claim that he is... he perpetuated a few colonial stereotypes in his work, right? That's what they want to claim. Now, I haven't read a lot of his books. I would claim that he was very critical of Western imperialism, yeah? So he's actually quite progressive for his time frame, yeah? He was very critical of Western imperialism and colonialism, right? But because he perpetuated a few colonial stereotypes, even by accident, he deserves to have his whole life's work ruined, yeah? He's now in a grave. He can't defend himself. And yet they're going to, you don't talk bad about the dead. Do you get what I mean? Unless it's Jimmy Savile or a pedophile. But they're decolonising his... There are exceptions, I get that. But they want to decolonise his work, yeah? Now, the reason this is hypocritical, and it's extremely hypocritical, is because that exact same university has received millions and millions and millions of pounds from organisations directly linked with the People's Liberation Army. The People's Liberation Army, the same one responsible for the Tiananmen Square massacre, the same one responsible for the persecution, imprisonment and torture of Falun Gong practitioners, which is the Chinese equivalent of yoga. Yeah, they are the People's Liberation Army have a long list of human rights abuses, right? But you won't talk about that. No. You'll talk instead about this author that's now dead who wrote a few things that may have perpetuated a few stereotypes. Well, guess what? Stereotypes exist for a reason. They exist for a reason. They exist from experience.
Exactly.
If a black man's walking down a road, right, and he sees a group of skinheads, absolutely completely bald, no hair, and they're white. It's a very white neighborhood. He's going to cross the street, right? If I walk down a black neighborhood with the hoods, right, and I see a gang of black people, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, right? You build stereotypes from experience. Stereotypes are not racist, yeah? So now, there's more interesting things about Edinburgh University. So Edinburgh University, their head teacher there is Peter Mathieson. Why is this interesting? Well, because before 2017, he was the head teacher of Hong Kong University in China. Yeah. Yeah. And coincidentally, 2017 is the same year that university stops receiving funding from China. The same year. So the reason that he left Hong Kong University and came to Edinburgh was because he was what was it? Was because he made a few pro-CCP, anti-democracy statements. He offered to work with the police and punish those who were protesting against the CCP. Yeah. Because at the time, previous to 2017, there was a big thing on university campuses in all over China, especially Taiwan and Hong Kong, I believe, where they were putting up banners at the university. He was offering to work with the police. And so because of that, he was forced to step down, and he went over to the Edinburgh University, where he then became the head teacher. He was actually headhunted, and I think he's on like a £150,000 a year salary. He's one of the highest paid people in the UK.
That's nice.
As a head teacher. Yeah, exactly. It's really nice. So he's the highest head teacher paid in the UK, and he's a Chinese citizen, right?
So 150 odd grand to decolonize the curriculum and throw shade on this one Scottish author that can't get up to defend himself because he's obviously long passed on. But the reason I'm glad you pointed out the double standard, because I was talking with I just wanted to have a conversation with Paul Ashton of the Abolish Welsh Assembly Party just to see what they were doing, see what their sort of stance was on a lot of different things. But the topic come up in a way of this double standard, and it relates. The one thing that popped out in my mind when you said about how we want to put all the focus on, say, this one Scottish author and not focus on what China's doing, it is the whole thing with like net zero and stuff like that. Whereas we are forced to, go into this energy, poverty, sustainability, UN Agenda 2030, ruts. And China is no scrutiny and is building coal power plants like there's no tomorrow. So there's that double standard there where it's like, come on. And it's just amazing me how many people just don't see it.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. And I mean, it gets worse, actually, funny enough, at this same university. So Edinburgh University is home to the first Scottish Confucius Institute. Now, Confucius Institute is a direct link between a Chinese university and a UK one, right? They act as kind of they want to promote Chinese culture, the Chinese language, like Mandarin, and a lot of Chinese students who study in the UK will be attending these Confucius Institutes, which a lot of universities all across the UK have them, right? But what comes with the Confucius Institute is a pairing. So this pairing is directly between, like, Swansea University, for example. They are paired with Wuhan University. Yeah. So they have like a twin university agreement, so they work together. Yeah. Now, Edinburgh University has one as well. I can't remember exactly what Chinese university they're paired with, but they are paired with one. Now, the Scottish Confucius Institute, they are home to quite a few speakers. What they actually are, what these Confucius Institutes actually are, I'm going to call them CIs. What these CIs actually are is they're like overseas Chinese Communist Party police stations, right? They keep tabs on Chinese students. They subvert issues on Taiwan, Tibet, and stuff like that, because to them Tibet's not a state. By the way, in their contract in the UK, if you want to work at a Confucius Institute as a Chinese citizen, you're not allowed to practice Falun Gong. That's another thing as well, right? But it's called Scottish Confucius Institute for Business. That's one at Edinburgh University. Yeah. Now they've housed quite a few speakers. One of the speakers is it Victor Zhang? I think it's Victor Zhang. There's quite a few names. I don't know. I know they definitely housed one. I can't remember what his name is exactly. I think it's Victor Zhang, who worked at the United Front Works Department. Now, why is this interesting? Well, the United Front Works Department is the Chinese Communist Party propaganda branch.
Is it actually?
Yes. It's their propaganda branch. They've flown over to the UK and they've spoken at a Confucius Institute with Edinburgh University students at. I don't understand this. How are people okay with this? And I mean, if you go deep down the rabbit hole of Confucius Institutes, which is now run by a company called Hanban in China, right? It's directly controlled by the United Front Work Department. Yeah. Now, there's actually there was a documentary done. I can't remember who did it, but there was a documentary done on Confucius Institutes, and in it they found evidence that they were that the Confucius Institutes, if you ask them about Tibet, they would say it's not a state. If you ask them about Taiwan, they would say it's not a state. It's part of China. So they are directly controlled by the United Front Work Department, and we are allowing it in the UK. So we're fighting this war on so many different fronts. We have language revisionism, with the inclusive language guides at Surrey University, Edinburgh University, and a bunch of others. Yeah, you have you have this institutionalized Marxism, the shutdown of free speech, you have Confucius institutes, decolonization, everything all going on at once. They are trying to come after the young people because everything starts with them. Every communist regime throughout history, and I'm going to reiterate this point, every communist regime throughout history has been conducted by the students, by the young people.
The Red Guard.
Exactly. The Red Guard is a perfect example. They went out and they beat their teachers to death.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it's possible now, but so did everyone who was under Hitler's regime in Nazi Germany. They didn't think it would happen to them, but it did. There was a perfect example that was done in California. I think it was in the 1970s, called the third wave experiment, right? And so so a student asked his teacher, "How did Hitler get the people of Germany to go along with this? I would never go along with it." And so he said, "All right, bet." And over the next 5 days, over the next 24 hours, he constructed a plan. And in the next 5 days, he successfully turned that entire school into what was pretty much a Nazi regime. Like, honestly, it's a really interesting experiment. Go look it up. I couldn't tell you the ins and outs because I can't remember every single detail. It's a really long story. But look it up. The third wave experiment, right? It is an incredibly interesting experiment that proves that this can be done. And especially with university students who are more impressionable and they're more prone to ideologies that present a moral luminescence, like socialism. Because socialism is all about
radicalization.
Yeah.
And radicalization, absolutely. And you said that was out of California. That experiment was out of California, you said?
Yeah, California. I'll get it out now.
Okay,
just see. Third wave experiment.
That sounds like some very interesting reading.
Yeah, so it was in 1967 by a high school history teacher, Ron Jones. Yeah, I think it was in California as well. Just look it up. Third wave experiment, man. They've got a documentary and a movie on it. So, give it a watch, mate. It's really interesting.
There we are. Definitely
really
look at that.
What they did.
But yeah, and it hardly surprises me because you only have to see the footage on X, coming out, and oftentimes I don't really see the same footage coming out on Facebook and other platforms. I see it coming out a lot more on X, and obviously the government has a whole thing with X. They want to try and shut it down because obviously they want to try and control the flow of information and all of these things. But you only need to see the chants and the backing of it. It's the made up chants, the fascist scum off our streets or Nazi scum off our sheets. I'm getting mixed up with what you said now. Yeah. But it's just. And it all comes from people that are around our sort of age groups. So I was thinking, you're 21?
Yeah.
Right, 21. So I'm 25. Around our age group, where people who were in uni, I don't know how I missed it, because you're saying a lot of these things were happening when I was in my second year of uni. And you said you were in the Trinity campus, wasn't it? St. David?
Yeah.
I was just down the road in the Bay campus studying sport. So that's why I was like, I don't know how, it never occurred to me that this was going on. I didn't see any of this going on. Maybe it was because I didn't stay on campus and I didn't really associate with too many people and stuff like that. And sort of just kept my head down. I didn't see it. But I didn't know that all this was going on. I just think all of this stuff that was going on with you, where your professors and the university itself were trying to get you kicked out, and it was literally just down the road from where I was. That's mad to me.
When were you studying there?
2019 to 22.
Oh, so you would have been there at the same time I was?
Yeah, 2019 to 22, yeah. I was studying sports and exercise science down in the Bay campus.
Nice.
And literally, I think the biggest thing that happened was when the lockdowns hit, I was at home. So I think that's maybe what allowed me to miss out on a lot of it. Just coming back then in the third year to do my dissertation, most of it was online. But, to think that it was probably going on in the campus that I was at as well. If it was going on the other campus down in Swansea, then there's no doubt it was going on the Bay campus as well. I'm just thinking, how many other students have been affected by this that we don't know about, for example, that maybe have tried to speak out about this or have been, cowed down and forced into submission to this ideology because maybe they'll get scholarships revoked or even just the social element, the social stigma of being, what I believe Mao he gave it good identities as red and he gave bad identities as black. And there's not like a racial thing. There's just an arbitrary distinction that he made, I believe. but having one of these identities that people look at almost like you're like a stinking leper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. You, how much? So, do you mind if I ask you? Do you still live in Swansea?
I don't live in Swansea now.
So how long? So when you were down there at that university, were you living on campus?
No, I was commuting.
Commuting, right? So I'm just trying to get an image. How much do you know about Swansea?
Not a whole amount. I know from following, you brought them up earlier, the Voice of Wales lads, well, lads and lasses, I should say. But I know they do a lot of work, and I know it's quite a hotbed for a lot of left-wing, left-leaning, and pro-Palestine activity.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really know too much about it. A lot of what I was down there for, I was very much a loner. I was very much a loner at that time, so I just sort of kept my head down, and maybe a large reason I didn't get caught up in it all was because I didn't go to class all that often. Maybe that was a reason why I didn't get caught up in it all.
Sometimes though, mate, it's better because I couldn't handle being around a bunch of woke lunatics these days. Do you get what I mean? So sometimes
Same.
it is better to be alone for your own sanity with these people, because they are insane, aren't they? But the reason I bring that up, right, is, did you know that Swansea has a twin city agreement with Wuhan as well?
I say you just brought that up now. I was thinking, because that's quite an institute to bring up, given what we had the last couple of years, especially around that 2021 mark.
It's not just a university. So usually it's just a university that's paired with a Chinese one. But in this case, it's the entire city has a friendship agreement with each other, right? Now, there's a leader of Swansea Council called Rob Stewart, the leader of Swansea Council, yeah? And I once managed to catch up with him, and I asked him, well, what gives? And he said, we brought friendship agreements in place after the Second World War to bring the values of democracy over to that country. That's what he said about China, right? So then I said, well, what about the sanctions you've just placed against Russia? And he said, oh yeah, I'm fully in support on the sanctions placed against Russia because Putin is bad. So on the one side, you want to bring the values of democracy over to China, but on the other side, you don't want to bring those values over to Russia. So there's a bit of a double standard there as well. Swansea is an incredibly bad city, really. It's really a bad city. The universities aren't too bad. I find with the creative universities like the University of Wales Trinity St David's, I think Swansea Bay could fit into that category a little bit. They are less woke as a general rule. It's usually, well, not entirely. It's the arty university that become incredibly woke, and the liberal arts colleges. But yeah, God.
I know one in Cardiff blocked me on Twitter, blocked me on X once. That was quite funny. I called them. I can't remember what one it was. It was a university in Cardiff. I believe they've unblocked me now, so to get all the prefaces out of the way. But at one point they did block me because somebody who I followed on X highlighted something, and I basically just parroted them. I said, "Oh, look what this university's doing." I think it was to do with the whole gender inclusivity stuff. And I basically just called them out on it. They say, "No, I'm blocked on there," and then they went back and unblocked me. Bear in mind, I have what's my X follow account? It's nothing. My X follow account is nothing. Let's have a little look. I have a grand.
94.
There we go. I have nothing at all in terms of that kind of social media presence. So and they blocked me. So I was like, I did find that quite hilarious. I was like, where's the free speech gone? The universities used to be, as you said, bastions of free speech. The Oxford Union, I believe, used to be a really prestigious, and I'm not saying it isn't a prestigious institution, but the name carries a lot of weight. And I think, I can't remember who it was, but I know Winston Marshall made a nice speech there when Nancy Pelosi was there a good couple of months ago. Might have been a year ago now. I can't exactly remember when it was, about populism and stuff like that. But there was another one where somebody tried to speak. I know Ben Shapiro spoke in there as well, but I believe it was somebody trying to, it was a pro-Israel, pro-Palestine thing. And everybody's just getting up and chanting these genocidal slogans. There's no debate or rigorous conversation going on. It's just what the hell has this devolved into?